everybody, it's Duncan McPherson, and I have Dan Meadors and Dylan Frost with me from the Wholesale Formula. There are two guys I've followed for many years, and quite frankly, they've been mentors in my own business, teaching me strategies on how to grow my own sales and get into the wholesale model. I'll take it away to you two guys, let you guys introduce yourself a little more. And they've got a great story, so stay through till the end. And I think you'll learn a lot from this video. Good afternoon, guys.
Hey, thanks for having us on, man. It's always a pleasure to kind of be able to talk about wholesale, particularly to your audience, because I know it's something that you do a lot and have a lot of familiarity with. So it's there's a lot less time spending on telling people why Amazon's such a great opportunity, because they understand that, and more of just why this might be a good model for them to try out. So
yeah,
totally.
when we started selling on Amazon originally, we knew about some of the different business models that existed, and wholesale was one to start investigating. And Dan, he would go on Google and just like Google Amazon wholesale, trying to find any information about like how to do it, what to do, how it even worked. And there was basically nothing on the internet at the time about any of it. And Dan really had to figure a lot of it out on his own from scratch. And that was probably the biggest blessing of all, that he got to figure it out on his own instead of learning from someone who didn't really know what they were talking about. And it's led us really from Googling around trying to figure it out to figuring it out on his own, has led us to where we are here today.
No, that's awesome. And following your guys' story, I guess you guys started out with a $600 credit card and went on to sell upwards of $30 million in Amazon. That's a pretty impressive story for two guys that, as far as I know the story behind you guys, you didn't really have a lot of experience with Amazon and kind of dabbled and grew from there and learned as you went, made some mistakes, but perfected some systems that really took off for you, right?
It's kind of funny because I think, Jeff Bezos has a really awesome quote that kind of fits, and it's, we oftentimes kind of look over it in our own lives or whatever, but big things start small, right? And in the grand scheme of things, like the amount of sales that we've done isn't, an ungodly amount, but for us, for two guys, you're right, from two guys from Kentucky that had no idea what they were doing on Amazon to doing it within a few years is pretty impressive from a personal standpoint. I think it's as far as being able to do it, kind of grow a business like that. I think it takes, first you have to decide that you have a lot of determination, or you really want to, right? Like in my story, I was kind of forced into it. Like I was doing this as a side hobby when we started with the $600 credit card, going around to Walmarts and buying things and taking them and selling them on Amazon. It was just, a way to make extra money. And I love buying and selling things. Like I've always been into something like that. But, right before Christmas, I lost my job and was really it was a burn your boat situation where I didn't really have, a chance. And I remember the situation of going home and talking to my wife and telling her that I had quit my job, because it was just mortifying to tell her that I had been fired, and I didn't want to scare her, but I was terrified. Like I was just completely terrified out of my mind. But I think a lot of that, that's kind of maybe what helped push us to actually succeed, right? Is not having a whole lot of other options. But the point is, I think that, you don't always have to have everything in your favor. Like you don't always have to have all of the resources or capital or whatever. You can start small and build, and it's certainly possible. And what we've done is in essence, like Dylan said, we didn't learn this and kind of learn bad habits. Like we had to find our own habits and create our own system to be able to work. But in the process, we created a system that literally almost anybody can use. Like me and Dylan are very average people, and but we still using the methodology that we've used, we were able to create a pretty significant business. So like, to kind of diving into that progression, it's, we started out with retail arbitrage, and like Dylan said, like we got to a point where we were looking for other models. Like retail arbitrage for us just wasn't incredibly scalable, right? Like there's just, you know, I can drive around more, but there's a point at which that has to stop, or you know, there's a kind of a point of diminishing returns where even if you start hiring employees, you're still kind of operating in that same geographic region. So like you're, you know, without kind of finding creative ways to get outside of that, your growth is stymied. And with wholesale, that was, you know, one of the things that kind of we whenever we were thinking about models and how we could grow and make this a business that didn't, you know, a business that was conducive to having a family, like a business that's conducive to owning a business. I don't know if that makes sense, but like, you know, not just being an employee chained to it forever. And, you know, one of the models that we looked at was wholesale, but we looked at a lot of the other ones. Like we looked at private label, and we even got started like launching private label brands in those early days, and ultimately failed. And it's, you know, when you kind of look back, I understand why I failed. Like you know, we didn't have those skills. We didn't have the skills to build listings. We didn't have the skills to source products in China. We didn't have skills to negotiate with manufacturers. We didn't have skills to do advertising at the level that you needed to do to succeed. And ultimately, like we launched products that didn't work out. And, you know, we moved into the wholesale area, and it was a rough going. I mean, it was tough. We started out Googling wholesalers and, you know, just the stuff that Dylan mentioned. And it was, you know, we were getting the same results that the people that do that in your group get. Like they want to, you know, they want to quit, right? And that was the same, you know, experience that we had. And then likewise, you know, whenever we went to trade show, we went to the ASD trade show, and, you know, it was fun. It was a fantastically fun event. But as far as being financially viable, it either, you know, didn't resonate with our personality. Like we're just not trade show guys, maybe. But it ultimately was very not successful. Like we bought product that we shouldn't have bought because we were trying to make decisions faster than we'd ordinarily make them. And it was just an utter disaster. But
I can totally relate to that as well, because I kind of followed a similar path to you guys. I did retail and online arbitrage, and then same with one of the things I learned actually from you guys early on was that, you know, the difference with wholesale was that I'm now building on my income as constantly replacing income. And that was a big key takeaway for me. It's like, you know what, with arbitrage, you find a great deal, but then when that's sold out, that sale's gone. Now I got to hunt and find a new deal to replace it with, right? It's the same thing. I'm in Canada, as you know, and I traveled to ASD and walked all over that giant trade show and met with vendors. And I placed orders I shouldn't have placed with suppliers and ended up getting burned on a few things. And, you know, things look and sound great when you're sort of negotiating on the floor, but you don't sometimes have the experience or the research that you need to do, and you kind of pull the trigger and place orders. So I hear you. I can relate to that. I love that. You know, I can completely relate to where you guys have been there.
So I think a lot of the people that are watching right now are hearing our story, and they have one big question on their mind, and it's, you know, how did we do it, and how can they do it, and then how does our business work? And so I'm happy to just lay all that out here, and happy to explain and share and show people how our business works. So how did two
That's
guys
awesome.
from rural Appalachia, the mountains, the very
Kentucky.
very rural, yeah, the very rural mountains of eastern Kentucky, who had regular day jobs, um, start a business, an Amazon business with no prior experience with a $600 credit card, and then do $30 million in sales. How did we do that? I'm going to explain it right now.
Awesome.
We did it with the business model of wholesale, but with a twist on the typical model of wholesale. We call it reverse sourcing wholesale, and it was almost entirely innovated by Dan. So how typical, first, the easiest way to explain how we've earned so much money on Amazon over the years is to understand first how we don't do it. It's to understand typical wholesale, right? When people say the business model of wholesale, they think about the very simple task or prospect of, you know, you go online, you go to Google or whatever, and you Google for distributors or for wholesalers, right? Which are just like big multi-billion-dollar conglomerate companies that have these just big inventories of all kinds of branded products, and you can go through their big catalogs of inventory and just try to find stuff to sell. And you can go through those giant catalogs of inventory and you can find like products that you could make some profit with selling them on Amazon. It is possible, but it's got that business model has a lot of problems. One of the problems is that everybody has the same access to be able to do that as you. So when you find a really good profitable product, it's just a matter of time before other people find it. So that becomes challenging. You're constantly having to find new products to be able to sell and stay ahead of that whole game.
It's like wholesale arbitrage, realistically.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, actually. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So like that's challenging. The margins are usually really low. So it's just, because of that, it's not as pleasing as the model that we eventually pivot, started having a lot of success with. And so we identified those problems and we thought that there had to be a solution. And turns out that there was. I'm going to tell the story. I'm going to tell Dan's story of how he kind of came about doing it differently. He was going through those catalogs of inventory, right? And because it really stinks, because you have to go you just have to double check. They may have 1,000 products in a catalog, right? And now there's software that makes this a little bit easier, but you just gotta have to go through everyone and match it and find it on Amazon and determine is it worth selling? Is it good? Is it can I make any money and all that stuff? And it's just super time consuming. And he was doing that one day and he got super frustrated. And he was just picked up a product that was sitting up on his desk, right? Just like a pen holder or something like that. And he said, if I wanted to sell this, why couldn't I just sell it? Why couldn't I just call the company that makes this directly and buy from them? And then he was like, wait a minute, I should try that. And that was the pivotal moment of why are we even trying to go through wholesalers and distributors who are basically middlemen who buy the product and then mark it up and then sell it to you? It's why don't we just try to just buy stuff directly from the people, from the brands themselves and the people that make it, and see if that works. And so Dan started trying that instead. Basically, he would find products that he knew he wanted to sell, products that are on, he would instead of sourcing a catalog, he would go to Amazon to source. He would go to Amazon.com and look for really successful best-selling products. And then once he identified ones that he liked and looked good, he would call the brand directly. He would call the brand directly to try to open up a direct account with them, cutting out the middleman, buying direct to get the best possible price. And as luck would have it, the first time he ever tried it, literally the first time he ever tried it, right? He was terrified, thinking that he would call, because he had been told this by other people. He was terrified that he would call and they would tell him the minimum order is, $25,000 or something if you want to be able to buy direct from us or something. He thought it was just going to be an astronomical number that we couldn't afford. So he calls and has a little chat with them about what he wants to do, be able to buy direct and sell their product, and gets to the part where then they're open to it. We do that. You can do that.
My real intention was to get to their distributor.
You're just going to ask who can I buy it from? He didn't think that he wasn't even sure they would sell it direct to him. And they're like, no, we'll sell it to you. And then he's just like, oh, okay. Well, how what's your minimum order? He asks, and he's just clenched, what's he about to say to me? And they say, what was it? $500, $250, $250. $250 was the minimum order, and he couldn't believe it. And then the discount that they were offering was good. It was going to be profitable to sell, and it was holy crap! This is it. It's just
be doable.
It's stop these wholesale catalogs and all that, and using wholesalers or distributors. We'll just go straight to the source of good products. We'll find good products on Amazon first, and just buy them direct. It's why not? And so that very first attempt worked, but So you think that that's it, that's the end of the story, and then from there it's just that easy, and we've grown and sold over $30 million since then like that. No, not exactly. So got a little lucky on that first one, I would say. So kept trying it. The second, the third one, the fourth one, the fifth one, the sixth one that we tried, we started to run into an issue. You'd call, and their minimum orders wouldn't be super high or anything. That was just turned out to be a myth, really. That's not a thing. What we were running into was companies saying, "Oh, we've already got like we've already got Amazon sellers.
Amazon sellers. Yep. Yep.
We've already got an Amazon seller or Amazon sellers, and we don't need any more, right? So we're not opening any new whole accounts, direct accounts with Amazon sellers. Thank you." And,
Well, I mean,
and kept
whenever you think about it, that kind of like pausing point right there, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's not very scalable, right? Whenever you realize that, I get turned down so much using this strategy of kind of calling, right, and just asking for an account. It's not very scalable. It's not a good answer to say I'm going to call every brand on earth. Like, so we had to come up with kind of an evolution in that process to continue moving the ball forward.
Narrow down your ideal brand kind of thing, eh?
Yeah. So it came down to like being strategic about it. Okay. So now we understand that these brands are turning us down. So if you call a brand and they say they're not accepting any other Amazon sellers, you've got two options from there. You can say, okay, and just move on and accept that as that's just a one of the truths of life, that there's death, there's taxes, and there's no new Amazon sellers. Either accept that as a fact, an unchangeable fact, or you figure out how to change their mind. And that's what we did. We figured out how to change their mind. And once we figured that out, everything changed for us and our lives. That the moment that we figured out how to change a brand's mind from no, we don't want any more Amazon sellers, to them being thrilled to work with us and can't wait to sell us their product. That was literally, it was the moment that our lives completely changed forever, and got to where we are today. And it's just simple. It's just things that sometimes we don't think about, especially if you are an early entrepreneur and your mind isn't in the right place for entrepreneurship. It's just when you start understanding certain principles that allow a business to be successful. It seems so simple in hindsight now, but at the time it really was it was a revelation for me anyway, to think about it and to do things like this. But it's really simple. The brand that you're reaching out to, the brand that you're contacting, if you just need to be able to provide them some value. And that's really the simplest way I can explain it. If they feel that they have Amazon sellers that are taking care of the channel for them, but the reality is the brand themselves knows nothing about Amazon. They don't know how good their existing Amazon sellers are or what they're even doing. They just know they have some.
I mean, in a lot of instances, how's a brand choose who their Amazon sellers are? It's by who causes the least amount of problems, right? It's not
who
about
called them first,
right? But it's not about who can progress where they're at on Amazon.
Exactly. And that's what all that we really had to start doing was contacting the brands and showing them how much better that they could be on Amazon with just very few changes, with just a little bit of work from the side of the seller. And when they started seeing that, and they started seeing how much better and how more knowledgeable and capable that we seemed, than the other people that they were working with, they started having those moments of just like, oh, you're right. You're right. And it's as simple as, for everyone at home that's watching this right now, just go search stuff on Amazon right now. Search a keyword, like hot sauce. Search a keyword, or anything that you're really into, and look at 10 or 20 Amazon products. And one of those 10 or 20 Amazon products, the listing will be terrible. It'll have like one picture. It'll have like 6 total words describing it. It'll be a bad Amazon listing, right? And there are literally millions of those bad Amazon listings where the Amazon seller for that product, for that brand, they aren't doing anything. They are just literally listing it for sale and then like walking away from it. And if you just do the bare minimum to prove that you aren't that guy, that you can represent the brand better, that you can help them in those kind of ways. Uh, in some cases, they fall over themselves to want to work with us, and it's been that way ever since.
And I love that because some of the products you showed me in the past with that model when I was learning from you guys, it's not the Coca-Colas of the world necessarily you're going for. It's a lot of brands that maybe people haven't even heard of, right? But they're selling fairly decently on Amazon. But like you said, they don't know how to optimize those listings, or they might have sellers, but they have no idea what the sellers are doing for them, if anything. And so that's
The
where you can come in as a seller and show them, hey, here's some of the things you could be doing on your listing, right?
That's what Dan and I'd like to say is the riches are in the niches.
Love
Right.
that.
It's our experience. It's our experience that the biggest opportunities aren't always the biggest and brightest brands that you've heard of. One thing that Dylan said that really needs to resonate with people who are thinking about, how do I make a successful business is, the cornerstone of a successful business is that it adds value, right? Like we're not just scalpers and things like that. So we have to be able to add value. And whenever you think about the value proposition that you can add to a mega national corporation that, say like a Nike or a, something like that, it's, the impact I can have on their company as a whole is minuscule, right? It's just minuscule. But whenever I'm talking about a brand that does maybe 500,000 or $1 million in sales on Amazon, right? If I can double their sales, what impact does that have on their company? It's massive, right? Like that gives them the flexibility to hire new employees, grow their brands, populate their line. Like there's a whole bunch of inherent advantages that they get by increasing their sales that substantially. So it's kind of based on the level of impact that we can have into who makes the best partner, I think.
Yeah, and not to oversimplify it too much, right? But we like a great bread and basket size company that we have worked with and sold their products. You'd be shocked how small a company can be, but how successful the product can be on Amazon in some cases. So there are times where we'll call a brand, right? And the owner picks up the phone. You call the number that's on their website, contact us or whatever, you call it, and the owner of the company picks up, and the owner of the company is the only employee, or maybe there's 2 employees or whatever. But like that's the size of company sometimes that we're dealing with. And a company that's small with just maybe 2-3 employees and the owner's doing a lot of the work, they can have products that you can legitimately make tens of thousands of dollars in product are in profit each year selling those products. So you gotta think about it from that perspective. There's plenty of brands and brands that are that size that present not only a ton of opportunity, but there's also it's also a lot easier to be able to talk to the people in those companies that matter and build a relationship and become their authorized Amazon seller.
Well, I mean, think about it from this perspective, Duncan. It's whenever I'm looking at brands to sell, you got to kind of realize too who you are as a business. And whenever I'm thinking about brands to sell, if I work with a brand that does $500,000 in sales on Amazon and I make a 15% margin, like 15% margins, like that's achievable, easily achievable. If I make a 15% margin on that $500,000 in sales, that's $75,000, right? That's, for a person. For a person, that's a substantial amount of income, right? So when you think about it from that perspective, I don't need a ton of brands, or I don't need these gigantic brands. I just need like good fit partners where I can add value that have products that sell, and I can make a really substantial amount of income with 1, 2, 3 accounts even.
Yeah,
I love that. And that's, sorry, go ahead, Dylan. Yeah.
Oh, well, all I was going to say is I'll make it real for everybody too. And the cool thing about our business model is it sustains itself. We talked a little bit earlier about, regular wholesale, right? You find a product that's a little bit profitable in a catalog and you sell it until, other people figure out that it's profitable and everyone starts lowering prices and you kind of have a price war, and then suddenly it's no longer worth it to sell anymore. That's not happening to us in this model where we call the brand directly or email the brand directly, open a direct account, and then build a relationship with them as an authorized approved Amazon seller, because it eventually evolves. If you do a good job, you build a good relationship, just like Dan said, it can eventually evolve into an exclusive relationship. Maybe it can evolve into a semi-exclusive relationship. It can evolve into and it's something that like your price. Here's the other important thing: your price is better than everyone else that's doing the distributor route or the wholesale route, because you're buying direct and you're getting a lower price. So it also is more difficult to compete with you. So you typically get most of the sales because of that. And you're able to keep buying and reselling that same product over and over.
Well, I mean, let's talk about why that is, right? Like, why are you able to buy the same product over and over and over? And it's, when you operate with the right brands who care about their products and are very restrictive about letting people in, once you're in the door, like, they're still telling everybody else no, right? Like, they're still, it was hard for you to get in the door. Maybe you convince them to make an exception and you do a good job and you stay, you remain a seller of that product, but they're still just turning everybody else away. So, like, it's, whenever you're working within the wholesale model, what you're doing is you're building on income. You establish a great account, you fulfill, you do a good job with them, and you get the opportunity to continue working with them basically forever, right? And so it's just kind of finding that next opportunity and adding it to the pile and the next one. And as long as you're doing a good job, your business can grow.
We have an account that.
Sorry,
I keep interrupting.
No worries at all. I was just going to say on that point that you guys have mentioned the word quite a few times. I think it's really critical. That was a turning point for me in my business, is that this business model that you guys are so successful with, and that I've applied in my business and had not the same results, but had success with as well, is it's about relationships, right? And that's something I think that a lot of people lose sight of on the online business side of things. They think of things as, things sell on Amazon, you press a few buttons and you make money, but this is about relationships with those brands. And as you build those relationships and you continue to add value, that's really an ongoing relationship that continues to grow. And those referrals you get potentially from those customers grow your business and your expertise outwards, right? I mean, you guys have found, I think in your story, that's been a big part of that, is that ongoing trust between you guys and the customers that you've helped, right?
And you don't need a lot. That's a thing that people need to understand, is you don't need a lot of wholesale accounts. You just need a few good ones, or maybe even just one good one. And it's completely life-changing. I can give you an example. One of our top performers, it's a wholesale account that we picked up in, I think, 2016. I think that was the year that we picked it up. Does that sound right to you?
26 is 16 or 17.
Yeah, it was 16 or 17, and maybe it was like the end of 16, one of those kind of things. And we've been selling that product nonstop since then, and working with this company since then. Developed a great relationship with us, and blow everybody's mind here. That company has had significant growth since then. They were good then, but they have grown and grown and grown. And a lot of that is because of the work that we've done and the relationship that we've built with them. They trust us. The month of January alone, that brand on Amazon did $980,000 in sales.
Wow.
We're the exclusive seller of that brand.
We are the exclusive. Yeah, we are the exclusive seller of that product. Now you can make
in 1 month. Wow.
So just, you can decide whatever you think our profit margin is. You can just whatever you think it is.
Pick a number.
Just pick a number, and we made a lot of money.
It's good.
You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what number you pick.
From one brand, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's like what's possible, and so they're out there, they exist. You can pick up accounts like this, you can develop them, and you just gotta do it. Yeah, almost $1 million in a month. We were so hoping.
Wow.
We were so hoping to get $1 million, to do $1 million a month, but it just didn't.
It's a Canadian dollars. That's over $1 million Canadian.
Hey, so there you go.
You're there. You're 7 figures. But yeah, I mean, that's the cool thing with it, I think. And that was the real turning point for me in my business when I learned that. It's like, as you said, you don't need a lot of accounts to really change the game. I mean, let's look at the average person. The average person makes X amount of their job. One account theoretically could produce that average amount for a person if they play their cards right. I mean, there's no guarantees in a business, but the potential's there, and there's people that have done that. So I think it's really exciting, that you put in the work up front, but that can continue to pay off year after year after year, to the point like with you guys, where you guys were able to do almost $1 million in 1 month, which is incredible. I mean, a lot of Amazon sellers would be delighted to do that in a year, right? And you guys are doing that in a month. So
I mean, that was on one brand.
That was just on
one brand. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, that's just insane. The potential.
But no, you're absolutely right. Those accounts are out there, and it takes somebody that's willing to kind of put in the work and have the right conversations to be able to win them. Like, we have examples from our community where, we've had students that have, went and got those 6-figure brands as well. Like one of our students, Cheryl Brightman, the first account she got was an account that makes her $250,000 a year now. Like,
wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's wholesale account she got. That happened again really recently with one of our students last year as well. Went through a coaching program, and same thing. Like the very first account that he landed was just like a monster. So it can happen. It can happen at the beginning of your journey. Most people, you work your way into it, but it can happen at the beginning of your journey too.
Well, the potential's there, right? And it's again, it's that persistence. Sometimes it's luck of the draw as far as to when that happens, but as you've said before, there's so many accounts out there that need help, right?
Right. And one of the things that's discounted is something you talked about earlier. It's just, developing the right relationship. Like, that's the thing. If I'm willing to put in the work and call brands and talk to them about their problems and things like that, I'm going to resonate with somebody just by sheer math alone. I'm going to resonate with somebody, and that's an account I'm able to win. So those accounts are absolutely out there, and it's, how are they won? And it's because the people that won them took the time to start creating a relationship rather than just selling them on why to work with us. Right.
Totally. And I guess on that note, like, rejection must be a big part of this business model for someone new starting out. And I'm sure you guys must have learned a lot from rejection, and learned how to overcome that, and that someone's no today might not necessarily be a no tomorrow, or a month from now, or a year from now, right?
Well, I mean, I've just always been of the opinion that I hate giving up, man. Like, I just hate giving up, and I love to win. So, and there's always the benefit too, right? If I'm trying to really win an account or something like that, generally there's a reason. I think I can help them. And so I'm motivated from that perspective of I know I can offer value and I can win that account. But even if I don't, like, that's the other times, right? Like, we're willing to continue shooting after somebody tells us no, and kind of find out why and dig into those reasons. But like you said earlier too, I mean, in the instance that it doesn't work, you go to the next one. There's literally millions of people that you can talk to and find the right fit partners, right?
And I find a question that comes up a lot with people when they come to me about the wholesale model, and it's a misconception that's still around, is, well, I can't afford a warehouse or forklifts or employees. But yet I believe you guys, you don't have a warehouse or employees anymore. And I know with my business, I outsource from day one. Like, I use prep and ship companies and FBA. I'm based in Canada and sold primarily in the US. I never had a warehouse or a single employee to my name,
Sure. No, I mean, I wish we had started that way, right? Like, me and Dylan came up in with the mentality that you had to have the warehouse and all that stuff. And we originally got started that way, and it's an absolute animal to run. I fully agree with the people that are like, I don't want to do that, because I don't either. But what was it, Dylan, 3-4 years ago now? I mean, it's been a long time now.
It's been a while. I think it was 4 years ago.
4 years ago at this point, that we officially closed our warehouse and moved, just like you, to fully to prep centers. And I can 100% say that it was the absolute right move, like for a lot of different reasons. Number one, it lets me and Dylan focus on our core competency, right? Like, what do we do well that grows our business? And I can tell you without a doubt, it was not run a warehouse. Like, it was not run a warehouse. But, you know, whenever we're not having to kind of spend the time dealing with warehouse issues or hiring employees or that kind of stuff, it really lets us double down on the things that we're good at. And that's, you know, talking to brands and developing relationships and delivering value. And when you're doing that as a business or an independent person, like, that's something anybody can do from their computer, right? Like, I can do those things from my computer. And it's kind of funny since, you know, since COVID happened, me and Dylan, you know, we closed our office and we've been working at home and ever since. Like, we've been working completely remote and have seen no change in our business, none, other than continued
continued growth. Yeah,
you know, no negative ramifications.
Yeah, I mean, the timing was good for you guys, because if you had had the warehouse during COVID, that could have been a big bottleneck for you guys as well, having to deal with all that stuff. That would have been a bit of a nightmare. So you guys, you were ahead of the game.
Yeah, the cool thing is, yeah, 90% of the stuff that we sell can just be shipped directly from the brand straight to Amazon too. Like, we got better about doing that as well. So, like, I mean,
the better partnerships you develop with the brands, right? Like, the easier that is to kind of get them to start shipping direct and being able to work with them. And that's really where our businesses went. Like, you know, when we moved to that kind of prep center model, it was probably much closer to like 50-50 that went direct, right? Like 50% went to a prep center, but like Dylan said, it's at least 90% direct from manufacturer now, probably higher than that.
I actually can't think of anything that isn't. I'm trying to think of something.
I'm trying to as well. And I don't know of a single product that we currently carry that is not shipped from the manufacturer to Amazon's facilities.
Yeah,
that's the key with the model you guys are explaining that you guys have used, because I found the same thing. I learned the hard way, actually, is the shipping direct model. When you have that relationship with a brand owner and you're providing ongoing value, you know, they're not going to want to just get rid of you for the next guy who approaches them, because you provide that ongoing value and help their business. You've helped them grow and you've got that rapport going. I kind of jumped the gun early on in my adventure of the business. I see your dog in the background there, dogs. Well, you got a few. And in my journey, I ended up going to distributors, as a lot of people do. And I got a little cocky and I asked a distributor to ship direct to Amazon. And they're a Canadian company, and I expanded their sales into the US. Well, they actually cut me out, because all I was doing at that point was providing a purchase order and no extra value. And they weren't the brand, they were a distributor. So I kind of cut myself out of some business with those guys. But when you're dealing with a brand owner directly, I think that's the value. You could have them and trust that they can ship to the factory. They're not going to cut you out of the picture, because you're providing more than just a purchase order at the end of every month, right?
Well, I mean, with the brand, they have different motivations, right? Like, with that distributor, what is that distributor's motivation? It is to sell more products in general. Like, all you did was give them a marketplace to sell more of their products in. Like, at the end of the day, they are a sales company, right? Now, whenever you think about a brand, what is a brand's role? They're a product company, right? Their goal is to make people more informed about their brand, so they buy more of their specific product. So it's about delivering an experience. So one of the things that, you know, when we talk about adding value, is we focus on, our helping brands is, simple things. It's like, fixing pictures, fixing copy, things that make the customer's experience with that brand better, make them more likely to enjoy the product that they bought. And that's part of the pitch that we're talking to brands. It's, we're not doing anything unique. What we're doing is we're making your customers have the same experience that they would have buying your product in a store. That's the value we can deliver. And I think that's the value everybody can deliver.
Absolutely. And, so along those lines, like, if a brand says to you, well, why wouldn't I just go to Amazon directly and have them sell my product? I'm sure that comes up once in a while with an objection. What would you tell that brand owner in a situation like that typically? Or,
I mean, honestly, that's actually never come up. It's never come up. And I think part of that is that, whenever we're engaged with a brand, we are constantly communicating. And I think that's part of building these solid relationships back and forth, right? Like we're communicating the value that we're bringing. And with a lot of our brands, we're viewed as just a partner, like a part of their business that operates their Amazon presence for them. So it's, rather than trying to cut us out and replace us, what in most instances, what they're trying to do is empower us to grow their brand even faster. Because like Dylan said, the brand that he gave the example of that did $980,000 in January. If you look 3 Januaries ago, though, that brand was probably doing about $90,000 to $100,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's, with attention to detail, like we went in, me and Dylan didn't take pictures and make graphics and stuff, but we found people that could, and we changed that company's whole graphical image. We went and we found copywriters that knew about the product, and they had great copy written for the products, and then just started doing the small things to help that brand grow. And if you were that brand, would you replace us? Like if you had literally 10 extra sales in 3 years, would you replace us? And it's no, there's no reason.
It makes a lot of sense, because for the right companies, you become like their marketing department, their sales force, their customer support, their feedback mechanism, and the whole shebang, right? So they don't necessarily have the resources.
They don't have to pay. I'm a sales force that pays them.
Yeah, exactly. They only pay you a percentage, and they're making their cut, right? So it's a great model, and I think everybody wins. Amazon get their cut, the brand owner grows their sales, and you provide ongoing value as a third-party seller to be able to continue to help them grow and find even other opportunities. Like I'm sure you guys sometimes come across non-competing products where there's maybe complementary attributes between one brand and another, and you say, hey, such and such, we did this. If you guys tried that, you probably get a similar result, and that might open up because it's not a competing product, right?
Yep.
No, 100%.
And we started, but when we started doing this, our going back to the story I told where Dan picked up that product off of his desk and was like, why can't I just call them directly? Literally since that day, our growth was enormous. It was like the next year, $3 million in sales. The next full year.
Wow.
After that, $7 million in sales. And so it just it got crazy after that. And when we started having that tremendous success, we started teaching other people how to do it. And they started having tremendous success, because it really is it's just once you know what to do, if figuring it out on your own can be challenging or whatever, but once you know the steps of what to do, it's kind of just follow the steps, and you can do the same thing whether you have ever sold it. Because before we started doing this, the only thing that I had ever sold was just random junk around the house on eBay or whatever, right? And so that was it, which everybody's done basically. You listed,
totally.
Some old crap of yours
I've
on
been
eBay
there.
you're trying to get rid of. That's it. I didn't need any experience to be able to do that. So so we developed a coaching program to teach other people how to do it. Really, we weren't sure if we wanted how that was going to go, teaching other people how to do it. And that very first class, we started doing it in 2015. Our very first class of people that we started coaching and teaching, they had such tremendous results. They were just, it was amazing, the success that everyone was having. Several of the people that we taught have bigger businesses than we do. Now they just took what they learned from us and just flew right by us. Because there's plenty of people smarter than we are out there. I mean, that's that without a doubt. So and it's just been growing. So every year we do we do a new class. Some years we did 2 big class of people that we teach how to do all this, and that's going to be starting real soon. So if anyone wants to learn more about that and get some additional training than out and talking outside of what we've done here, I imagine somewhere around here, or maybe down here, or there's a link to a webinar that Dan and I will be hosting with our good friend Jason Fladlin as well. That's going to really explain everything about our business and the opportunities to join in our coaching program that we do every year. So if you're interested in that, make sure and check out that link wherever it is.
Love it. Thank you so much, guys. And in past years, you guys really do give out a lot of absolutely amazing content during that webinar. And I encourage anyone to check it out. Even if you're on the fence, sign up. It's free. Check it out. You'll come away with a lot more knowledge than you went in. You know, like these guys, they've taken a process, a system, a process, a bunch of processes, and distilled it into a really easy to understand format that if you go away from this webinar, you'll be able to go back in your own business and make some changes right away and implement them and see some results. You know, so I think it's really worthwhile. Was there anything else you guys wanted to add before we wrap up here? Or Dan, did you have anything else that you wanted to say?
No, I'm just excited, honestly, to be able to kind of do that workshop and go through and show people, if nothing else. I mean, I would tell whoever watches this video, come to that, like, see if this is something that would work for you, or if it's something that you could see yourself doing, because it absolutely has changed our life. Like mine and Dylan's, it's absolutely changed our life, and we've seen it change the lives of so many people. And it's just like you said, taking a process and just doing it.
We're gonna
be that easy.
Yeah, we're going to teach on that webinar a 4-step process for identifying a product to sell on Amazon using our methods for the wholesale formula. It's a 4-step process. We're going to teach all 4 steps. It's not like we're going to hold anything back or whatever. You're going to learn our 4-step process for finding your going on Amazon and finding a great potential product, a wholesale product, and you'll learn it in full. And you'll really be able to just start finding products and decide for yourself. It's because it's and we can teach all of that in an hour.
No, I mean, it's the funny thing is whenever we got started, if our workshop would have existed, it would literally have saved us probably 2 years. Like that's how impactful this workshop can be for somebody. Like letting them know how this business model works, and just getting them thinking about the possibilities can shorten the curve of getting where you want to be by years, like literally years, because it took us years of frustration to find the right model. And it took us years to evolve it to get it to the point where it is now, where we have the ability to convert brands like we do. And just having that knowledge on the front side would have just been an unbelievable benefit to us. Like it would have changed our life that much earlier, right?
Yeah, you can go to our website and see the success of our students over the years, and unbelievable success and results we've been able to get for people. Students that have went through our program have combined to do over $1 billion in sales. I like to say that our program is the best. Our coaching program, the Wholesale Formula, it's the best program for learning to sell on Amazon in the world, and the second best program for learning to sell on Amazon is this webinar that's free, so that you can attend and register for right now. And so definitely do that.
I love that. And like I said, I've implemented the strategy in my own business, and seeing the result dollars of students of yours that have achieved that collectively, that's proof in the pudding. That's results. And you guys have been doing this for a number of years now, and the success stories keep increasing. So I mean, that to me is, anybody listening to this and that looks up you guys and the Wholesale Formula, there's going to be pretty much nothing but positive reviews. You guys are going to get the occasional negative Nelly, but you guys are like positive overwhelmingly, and the results speak for themselves. So I think anyone that's watching this, you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't attend that webinar and check it out, because when I first learned about your strategies and started implementing them in my own business, it blew me away and just transformed my own results too, and as it's done for many other people. So I feel privileged to have been able to take some of your guys' time and have you share this opportunity with my audience and your expertise, and really appreciate you guys doing this and helping more people that are ambitious and willing to put the work in to figure out a way to create a business on Amazon too.
Super pleasure to be here. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.